When we hear the word hospice, many of us think about a place or a moment near the end. But hospice is not simply a place or moment, it is a promise. A promise that comfort matters, that dignity matters, that no one should have to face the hardest days of life without support. And in America, that promise did not appear overnight. It was built, piece by piece, across generations. In the 1930s, the country was in crisis. Jobs disappeared, savings vanished, families leaned on neighbors and churches, and on whatever help they could find. In 1935, President Franklin D. Roosevelt signed the Social Security Act. At the time, it was not about hospice, it was about survival. It created a foundation for older Americans and for those facing disability and hardship, so that growing older would not automatically mean poverty. It was one of the first major moments when the nation said clearly, we have responsibilities to one another. That idea, that shared responsibility, would become the soil where future healthcare programs could grow. 3 decades later, the country was changing again. Medicine was advancing, hospitals were growing, new treatments were emerging. But with that progress came a hard reality. Many older Americans could not afford medical care at all, and one single illness could wipe out a family's stability. In 1965, President Lyndon B. Johnson signed Medicare and Medicaid into law. This was a turning point. For the first time, millions of seniors had reliable health coverage, and millions of low-income families gained access to care through Medicaid. These programs did more than pay the bills. They changed what was possible. Because once a nation decides healthcare is part of its commitment to the people, then the question becomes, what kind of care do people actually need, including the care at the end of their lives? As the decades moved forward, medicine could do remarkable things. But even as treatments improved, families still faced the same painful truth. Some illnesses do not end in recovery. And when a cure is not possible, people still need care. Not just medical care, but human care. They need relief from pain and anxiety. They need support for breathing, for eating, for sleep. They need guidance through decisions that feel overwhelming. They need help for the family sitting in the next room, trying to be strong. Across the country, a new movement began to take shape, one centered on comfort, compassion, and quality of life. In the late 1970s, the U.S. hospice movement began gaining real traction, and it grew during the same era as President Jimmy Carter's administration. But movements need more than good intentions. They need structure. They need a way to reach ordinary families, not just those with resources. In 1982, President Ronald Reagan established the Medicare Hospice Benefit. This is one of the most important milestones in the history of hospice care in America, because it meant hospice was no longer something only a few communities could offer. It allowed hospice to become a part of mainstream healthcare. It recognized that end-of-life care is real, skilled care, and it deserves support. With this benefit, families could receive nursing visits, medications for comfort, medical equipment, and emotional and spiritual support. And often, that care could happen where people wanted to be at most, home. Even with coverage, families still needed something else, clarity. When illnesses progress, decisions come fast, and in those moments, people can feel as though they are being pushed along by the system. In 1990, President George H.W. Bush signed the Patient Self-Determination Act. This required providers to inform patients of their rights to make decisions about their care. It encouraged conversations about advanced directives, and it strengthened a simple but powerful principle. A person's wishes matter. Therefore, hospice care, at its best, is not only clinical, it's personal. For many Americans, hospice remains misunderstood. Some believe it means giving up. Some believe it means only a few days left. Some fear it means being alone. But President Jimmy Carter made a decision that was deeply personal and very public. In February of 2023, by choosing hospice care, he gave the country an example of what hospice can look like. Not a headline or a dramatic moment, but a quieter kind of courage. The courage to focus on comfort, to choose the familiar, to be with family, to live out the days that remain with intention. His hospice journey helped many families understand something important. Hospice is not about counting days, it's about making days count. Today, Heart of Georgia Hospice continues this story right here at home, in our community, by serving patients and families with compassion, dignity, and respect. We help manage pain and symptoms. We offer emotional support and guidance. And we support caregivers and loved ones, because hospice cares for the family too. And we do it with the same belief that has shaped this history from the beginning, that care should meet people where they are, that comfort matters, and that no one should face the end of life without compassion and support. Hospice in America was built over time, through leadership, through policy, and through a growing understanding of what people truly need. But at its heart, hospice has always been something simpler than politics. It is love in action. It is service in its purest form. It is the commitment to show up and stay. So on this President's Day in 2026, the year of the 250th anniversary of our nation, we reflect on the leadership of the past and the steps they took to help ensure care and comfort are available to all in every stage of life.